In 942 verses, Nostradamus put a year on exactly none of them. Not one date, anywhere in the book. Which should make pinning him to this year impossible, and instead it is the reason his readers can. The war verse never says when the fighting begins. It says how long it lasts. 7 months. Then came the 28th of February, American and Israeli aircraft over Iranian nuclear and military sites, Hormuz traffic falling to near zero, a quarter of the world's seaborne oil sitting still. Somebody started counting that morning. 5 months are gone. The week it runs out is close enough now that I can name it, and I will, once you see where that 7 came from. Nostradamus is only half of this. The other half never wrote a book. Never published a single verse. Her name was Vanga Goshtarova, a blind Bulgarian woman the world knows as Baba Vanga, and she died in 1996 in a small house in Petrich, near the Greek border. And yet her followers and his readers have converged on the same 12 months, from opposite ends of history, on 5 specific things. Not vague things. War. The ground. Money. A great man who falls. And something arriving from outside. One of them treated plague victims back when treating plague usually killed you, a French apothecary who ended up summoned to the royal court. The other was a peasant girl who lost her sight at 12 and ended up on a government payroll. For centuries between them. Roughly 1,600 kilometers. No shared language whatsoever. Line up what each of them is credited with saying about 2026, and the 2 lists touch in 5 places. That is the part that is hard to shake off. Start with her. 1967, the Bulgarian state puts a blind fortune teller on the books, employed through the Petrich municipality and an institute of sagistology. Visitors get registered. Bulgarians reportedly paid 10 leva, foreigners 30, and the money went through the state. Members of the Communist Party Politburo consulted her. So, reportedly, did Leonid Brezhnev. The blindness itself goes back to 1923, a violent storm near her village injures her eyes, the family cannot afford treatment, and by 12 she is blind. Whatever you believe, a government does not put a fortune teller on the payroll for nothing. Her house in Petrich is a museum now. It opened on the 5th of May, 2008, and people still come. Which brings us back to the collision. 5 overlaps, a war with a length attached to it, the ground moving, money breaking, a great man struck down, and a visitor in the sky with a month written next to it. 1 at a time, then. And every single one checked against what has actually happened since January. Now him. Michel de Nostradamus, born 1503 in Provence, trained as an apothecary, made his name during plague outbreaks. In 1555 he published Les Prophéties, 942 4-line verses, arranged into 10 books he called Centuries. Catherine de' Medici, Queen of France, brought him to court. And here is the crucial detail, the one that makes all of this possible. He dated almost nothing. No years. No calendar. Deliberate Latin, deliberate anagrams, deliberately scrambled word order. He built a machine that never runs out of fuel. So how does a book with no dates produce a prediction for 2026? The method is simple, and a little absurd once you see it. Readers take the quatrain numbered 26 inside each century and treat the number as the year. Verse 26 equals 2026. That is it. That is the entire system. No serious scholar defends it. And yet, here's where it gets uncomfortable, the verses that land on number 26 are not the gentle ones. They are among the darkest pages in the book. She asked visitors to bring a sugar cube they had slept beside. That was the method. No verses, no manuscripts, nothing to number, people sat in a small room in Petrich and she talked. She described dead relatives, illnesses, dates. Bulgarian Tsar Boris III is said to have made the trip during the Second World War. And what survives is only what those visitors carried home and repeated to somebody else. 60 years of visitors, and the entire record of it is human memory. Hold that thought. It matters later. For someone who dealt in fog, the 2026 items credited to her are unusually specific. Global conflict escalating out of East versus West tension, described in the versions that circulate as the beginning of the downfall of humanity. Earthquakes, eruptions and extreme weather striking 7 to 8% of the planet's land area. Financial turbulence triggered by war and disaster. A sitting Russian leader losing power, with a stronger figure rising behind him. And contact. A large craft entering Earth's atmosphere no later than November of this year. There is a sixth item on her list, artificial intelligence moving from tool to master across key sectors, and nothing in the French verses answers it at all, so it sits outside everything I am about to line up.
Now put the two columns side by side. His, 7 months of war, blood filling a Swiss valley, a swarm rising by night, a great man struck down in daylight, gold and silver inflated into worthlessness. Hers, east against west, the ground opening, money failing, a leader falling, something in the sky. Same 5 hooks, written roughly 400 years apart, by 2 people who never heard each other's names. And overlap number 1 is already running. It has a clock on it. February 28th. Coordinated American and Israeli strikes on Iranian military and nuclear facilities. What followed was the largest disruption to world energy supply since the 1970s. Hormuz normally carries a quarter of all seaborne oil and about a fifth of the world's liquefied natural gas. Traffic fell to near zero. By April 21st, roughly 2,000 ships and 20,000 mariners were stuck inside the Persian Gulf. 17 seafarers have been killed. And tankers were still being struck in the 3rd week of July, near Qumzir and near Lima, some of them running dark for days beforehand. Overlap 2, the ground. Vanga's followers put an actual number on this one, 7 to 8% of the land surface, battered. So here is what 2026 delivered by the end of July. 9 earthquakes of magnitude 7 or greater. June 7th, magnitude 7.8 off Mindanao in the Philippines, 107 dead. June 24th, Venezuela, magnitude 7.5, followed by a 7.2 in the same region. And that second afternoon is the one nobody was prepared for.
5,546 people died in Venezuela. Total earthquake deaths worldwide this year, through July, 5,721. A single afternoon in June accounts for almost the entire year. Then July 28th, Kumamoto, Japan, magnitude 6.8, in the same country that shook in April. 9 sevens in 7 months is not, on its own, unusual. The Earth does roughly that most years. What is unusual is where they landed, and how many people happen to be standing there. Overlap 3 is the strange one. Vanga's date, no later than November this year, a large craft entering the atmosphere. For 29 years after she died, there was nothing on Earth to hang that sentence on. Then, in July of last year, a survey telescope in Chile caught an object moving far too fast to belong to our sun. Only the 3rd interstellar visitor ever recorded. Designation 3I Atlas. NASA and the European Space Agency examined it and said the same thing, firmly and repeatedly: it is a comet. Not everyone agreed. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb rated it a 4 on his own 0 to 10 scale, where 0 is an ordinary comet and 10 is alien technology that threatens us. It showed a small non-gravitational acceleration, pushed along by a system of jets. Its deuterium reading came back around 1,000 times the average cosmic value, and deuterium is fusion fuel. It passed closest to Jupiter on March 16th, and it is now about 1 billion kilometers out, fading, leaving. Which is the awkward part, and I am not going to slide past it. The one object that ever fit her sentence is already on its way out, and nothing about it looks like entering our atmosphere. So either November closes empty, or whatever she meant has not shown up yet. And here is where it gets really interesting, because the French verse has its own thing in the sky.
Century 4, Quatrain 26. The great swarm of bees will arise, and no one will know where they came from. By night the ambush, the sentinel under the vines. For 400 years that read as insects, or as a royal symbol, since bees were the emblem of empire. Read it in 2026 and it reads as something else entirely. Drones. Arriving from nowhere, at night, with no return address. This summer, Egypt confirmed that a fire at one of its Mediterranean ports was caused by a drone. Nobody in 1555 had a word for that. Overlap 4, money. Vanga's list says financial instability triggered by conflict and disaster. Century 8, Quatrain 28, describes copies of gold and silver inflated beyond reason, and ends with every note and bond wiped out. And yes, that number breaks the one rule I gave you 2 minutes ago. 28, not 26. By the reader's own method this verse belongs to 2028, and they put it on the 2026 list anyway, which tells you a great deal about how a list like this gets built. What actually happened: Brent crude passed $100 a barrel on March 8, the first time in 4 years, then kept climbing to 126. March of this year now holds the record for the largest monthly increase in oil prices ever measured. Not the 70s. This March.
Overlap 5, and this is the one people lower their voice for. Century 1, Quatrain 26. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt. An evil deed, foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at night time. Conflict at Reims, London, and pestilence in Tuscany. 2 figures fall. One in daylight, one after dark. Vanga's column has exactly the same shape, a sitting Russian leader losing power, and a stronger figure rising behind him. Neither of them names anybody. That is precisely why the verse never expires. Now the part 10U, because I said memory would matter. Baba Vanga left no written record of any prediction. None. Everything attributed to her arrived second-hand, often decades later, occasionally after the event it supposedly foresaw. And she has documented misses: the 1994 World Cup final, a nuclear war she placed between 2010 and 2016, Barack Obama as America's last president. Nostradamus never wrote a single one of these dates either. The number 26 was our idea, not his. And still, nobody has explained the overlap. So here is the date I promised you. The war verse never says when it starts. It says how long it lasts. 7 months. Count 7 months forward from February 28th, and you land in the last week of September, this year. Roughly 8 weeks from now. Vanga's window closes 2 months after that, in November. 2 calendars, drawn up 4 centuries apart by people who never met, and both of them run out before this year does. Neither date has arrived. Both are close enough to check. That is what is left on the table. Not a warning, not a forecast. A countdown that 2 different traditions, in 2 different languages, happen to set to the same autumn. Watch the last week of September. Watch November. And when the ships start moving normally through Hormuz again, or they don't, you will know which column was closer. So here is my question, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. If a verse has no date until we assign one, are we reading a prophecy, or writing one? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button. See you in the next video.